Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Aardman is an animation studio that's made themselves one of the major giants of the stop motion industry. It might be kind of rare for them to release a new feature film in cinemas, but when they do, it's always a special surprise. In this video, I'm going to be counting down my picks for the top 4 best and worst Aardman movies. Why top 4? Well, because there's actually only 8 Aardman movies to date. Yeah, this could have been a ranking video instead, but I've just come off making one of those. A very big one too. Anyway, let the countdown begin. The Shaun the Sheep movie. Shaun and his fellow sheep tire of the farmer's strict schedule, so they hypnotize the farmer to sleep and safely put him to bed in a caravan. Shaun and his friends get to have lots of fun and freedom. Unfortunately, the caravan accidentally rolls into town, where the farmer injures his head and wakes up with amnesia. The sheep try looking for the farmer in town, but have no luck. However, they later learn that the farmer has become a celebrity hairdresser and doesn't recognize Shaun. Meanwhile, a crooked animal catcher is on the tails of the sheep. Look, I know, this movie does not belong on a worst list. I feel awful that it's ended up here. You see, as there's only 8 Aardman movies, I can only pick 4 best choices, which means that the 4 left over end up on my worst by default. So I want to make it clear that I do love this movie, cherish it even, like I really respect it for being a silent animated film for kids, depending heavily on character animation and grunts to tell its story. That's awesome and shows respect for children's intelligence. It's also super funny too, featuring some of the most hilarious gags and slapstick that I've seen from this studio. Oh, and it has so much heart, from showing us how we shouldn't judge animals by their looks when adopting, to the sheep coming to learn to appreciate the farmer like his family. It's a real tearjerker of a movie. I guess the question is less what makes this film bad, because it really is not, and more why didn't it make my best list? You know what, I actually don't know. I could nitpick a reason, but when all is said and done, there's nothing really wrong with this movie. I just think that 4 other Aardman films happen to be more entertaining. Maybe because those films have the quotable British dialogue that I love to hear in an Aardman flick, and they go for more ambitious stories than sheep getting lost in a city while looking for their farmer. Flushed Away. This is the 3rd collaboration between Aardman and DreamWorks that centres on Roddy, a house pet who gets to have the home to himself when his owners go on holiday, but his alone time is interrupted by the invasion of Sid the sewer rat. Roddy tries tricking Sid into jumping into the toilet, but Sid knows better and pushes Roddy in instead. Roddy washes up in the sewers, where he meets the captain of the Jammy Dodger, Rita. Suddenly, a pair of gangster rats turn up and try to steal Rita's family ruby, which could save her from poverty. The rats drag our heroes to their boss, the evil Toad, who mistakes the ruby for one of the Queen's jewels. Rita then gets back the ruby, steals a master cable from Toad's machine, uses it as an escape tool, and then turns said cable into a belt. However, Roddy proves that the ruby is fake, but can give Rita a real ruby if she helps him get home. Unfortunately, the Toad is on Rita and Roddy's tails because he needs the master cable for his ultimate villain scheme. Now, I have grown to like this movie, its biting satire on classicism appealing to me the most. From the engaging dynamic between the working class Rita and the privileged Roddy.
You know, I think we did pretty well today. I suppose maybe I misjudged you a bit. I mean, you're not...
Do I hear an actual compliment coming?
Never mind.
No. Say it.
Well, you're not entirely the useless, whiny, stuck-up, pompous big girl blouse I thought you were.
There. Was that so hard?
To the creepy evil plans of a royal Toad who wants to wipe out the lower class rats he looks down upon.
Well, I'll be the one laughing when every last revolting rat is flushed away, for I shall repopulate the city with these.
Oh, and I love how the film celebrates family love and British poverty, while contrasting it against the empty loneliness and shallow lifestyle of being at the top.
I've met one of your lot before.
Oh, really?
Used to be some old lady's pet.
That's nice.
Terribly lonely for him, though. He had no one to talk to.
No one to cuddle with. No one to shocky.
Well, that's no life, is it?
But I can't deny that this is the Aardman movie that suffers from the most studio interference. You can tell that this humble Bristol studio wants to stick to their roots, But DreamWorks seems way more interested in repeating the formula of their recent smash hit Shrek. There's a much bigger emphasis on gross-out gags, pop culture references, and over-the-top zaniness. Sure, these things work well for a DreamWorks comedy, but they seem really out of place in the quaint world of Aardman. The studio's British charm has been softened down too. I'd even say that this is maybe the least British Aardman movie, even though it's set right in the sewers of London. It's like the suits at DreamWorks were scared of Americans walking out if they heard any slang, or saw something quirky from outside their culture. How could this film been better? Well, DreamWorks should have just stayed out of Aardman's way, and let them do their magic. An animation collaboration doesn't have to be two companies sharing ideas. Sometimes it's good if it's just one creative supporting another's vision. I actually did a full review of this film not long ago, so feel free to check that video out for my more in-depth analysis. A Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon. Every time Shaun tries to have some fun, Bits the dog intervenes and bans whatever the sheep are doing, which drives Shaun nuts. Then, one day, Shaun befriends a lost alien child called Lula, who needs his help to get home. Meanwhile, Agent Red, who once saw aliens as a kid but was laughed at by her class, is adamant to find Lula as proof for extraterrestrial life existing. Now, I will say that there is a lot to love about this movie. Lula is an adorable little space creature who kids will really like.
Lula.
Plus, Shaun's stressful babysitting of Lula teaches him to better understand why his sheepdog is so protective, while Bitzer comes to accept that he has to let the sheep take risks sometimes. And we get a sympathetic, compelling villain who means no harm and just wants confirmation for what she saw. However, when you boil this movie down, it is just your typical child and their pet alien story, with all the predictable beats that we've come to expect from this formula. The only tweak being that the boy is a sheep this time. Look, I don't expect Aardman to reinvent the wheel with every movie they make, but I do expect them to be more original than this. The sequel also lacks the heart of the first movie, because the farmer is way more interested in exploiting the UFO craze for quick cash than spending time with his beloved animals. That family bond that charmed us last time isn't here.
Ah!
How could have this film been better? Well, instead of a generic boy and his alien story, how about the farmer discovers Lula, and the farm animals have to put on a stage show to help fund equipment for Lula's broken spaceship? This would have tied both plots together better, while also giving the ET formula a different spin. Farmageddon isn't a bad movie, not by any stretch, but it is one of the times where commercial appeal came before creativity. That Aardman charm is here, but the studio was clearly playing things very, very safe. Early Man. Long ago during the prehistoric age, a meteor landed on Earth. It wiped out the dinosaurs, but cavemen survived, and they used said meteor to invent football. Many generations later, a descendant tribe survives by hunting rabbits, and they refuse to take on bigger predators. Suddenly, this tribe is kicked out of their valley by Bronze Age humans, so the optimistic and brave Doug challenges their leader, Lord Noof, to a football game. If the cavemen win, then they get their home back, but if the Bronze side wins, then the tribe will have to work in a mine. However, Doug's tribe isn't the brightest bunch, and they fail to get any good at footy. So Doug invites a girl called Duna, who has been rejected from joining the Bronze Age team, to come train them. There is something endearing about this ragtag group of adorably dim-witted cavemen going up against pretentious football stars. We root for them to win and fear for them being sent to the mines, because they're a close-knit family who are being oppressed by colonizers. They're clearly very outmatched, but they're going to do their best.
They may be better players than us, but we have something they don't.
Huh? Moss?
No, Barry, not Moss. We've got each other.
Sadly, this is maybe as much praise as I can give Early Man. Beyond that appeal, it's not really got much to offer audiences. As likeable as our main characters are, most of them are very one-note. Each caveman has one running joke, and it's their rinse and repeat gag that defines their entire personality for the whole film.
Oh, it's Pointy.
Oh, Treebor, just get over there.
Oh, Mum.
Morning, Barry.
Morning, Doug.
Mr. Rock coming hunting today?
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
Morning, Osbo. Change your underpants today?
Yeah, changed them with Thongo, Chief. Champion.
Sure, Doug stands out as the most brave and intelligent caveman, but being the competent one in a community of idiots doesn't exactly make him interesting. Yes, I like that it's an underappreciated woman footballer who coaches our underdogs, but that's all Duna really is, the token girl soccer player. Owen Noof is perhaps the weakest Aardman villain ever. He's not that funny, he's far from intimidating, and he's not even fun to hate. All he ever does is cower and complain. I just found him pathetic.
It seems their ancestors were playing football centuries before we were.
The Queen must not find out about this, all right?
Delivering message?
Oh, no.
I guess he's confident and manipulating things his way, but I wouldn't say that he's some mastermind of strategy. The actual football leaves a lot to be desired too. I mean, the gameplay's animation looks lethargic and unenthusiastic, plus the movie keeps cutting to a puppet Jumbo Vision, which might be kind of funny at first, but it ends up killing any sports momentum. How could have this movie been improved? I would say that the cavemen needed to be fleshed out into actual characters, each with their own pros and cons. Lord Noof should have either been a wittier comedic villain, or a scarier menacing villain. Plus the football game could have done with more exaggerated and bouncier animation to raise the match's energy. Saying all this though, it's quite impressive that Early Man is Aardman's weakest movie, because it's not even that bad. It's very undercooked and kind of boring, but it's not some kind of train wreck that the studio should be embarrassed of making. If this is Aardman at their worst, then they're doing pretty good for themselves. So those are my picks for the top 4 worst. Let's now move on to my best choices. The Pirates. In an adventure with scientists, Pirate Captain is a struggling marauder who wishes he could become Pirate of the Year, but his competition is way too strong. He attempts to steal booty from many different ships, but none of them have treasure. His last stop is the ship of scientist Charles Darwin, who only has baboon kidneys, but Darwin eagerly tells the pirate captain that his parrot Polly is actually a dodo. The pirates disguise themselves as scientists, enter a science competition with Polly, and win first place. While the prize isn't anything special, Pirate Captain does become a London celebrity. However, the wicked pirate-hating Queen Victoria wants Polly for herself, so that she can eat the poor bird at an endangered animals banquet. Pirate Captain, not knowing the Queen's devious intentions, reluctantly sells Polly to the Queen for a boatload of treasure, which grants him the prize he's always wanted, but in turn disappoints his loyal friends. The heart of this film is very much the sense of family between the Pirate Captain's crew. They're an odd and silly bunch, but they're all passionate about pirating and adore their mascot Polly.
Never forget it.
Polly, the finest parrot to sail the 7 seas. Come on, girl. Who's that feathery heart and soul of our boat?
They really care about their pirate captain, so much so that they're willing to support him all the way in his quest for Pirate of the Year. However, at the end of the day, none of them are actually after success or fame themselves, and they just want to have adventures together as a sailor family. Sometimes we can compare ourselves to more successful people and feel insecure for not matching up with their stature. This is what makes Pirate Captain's arc of learning to appreciate what his loved ones think of him, instead of chasing after a commercialized idea of happiness, so dang relatable. I also love the idea that our villain is a colonizing monarch who sees pirates as a pebble in a shoe. Her hatred of marauders is genuine and fierce.
With their idiotic shanties, and their ridiculous hats, and their endless blasted roaring!
Which inspires a truly entertaining rivalry between royalty and rebels.
Now careful.
Do you know why I really hate pirates?
Childhood trauma, was it? Bitten by a pirate when you were a baby? Beard envy?
It's because you're out of date!
It's kind of awesome that this is a story of punks of the sea saving an endangered animal from an entitled, wealthy authority figure, all while their leader reaches the epiphany that pirating is no fun if you don't have a trusty crew by your side, or a bird on your shoulder. Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Wallace and Gromit have started a pest control company called Anti-Pesto, using Wallace's gadgets to humanely remove rabbits from people's vegetable patches. Wallace's favourite client is the beautiful Lady Tottingham, who is dating the brutish Lord Quatermain. Unfortunately, Wallace and Gromit are struggling to make space for their increasing contained rabbits. So Wallace uses an invention to hypnotise the rabbits into hating veg, but he clumsily screws things up, and one rabbit's mind ends up fusing with Wallace's brain. That very night, the church is attacked by a giant rabbit monster, which the vicar claims is the were-rabbit. Antipasto promises to take care of this beast. At first, they suspect that it's one of their own rabbits, Hutch. But we soon learn that Wallace is the one that's been transforming into the veggie-chomping were-rabbit every night. Gromit must not only stop the were-rabbit from ruining the upcoming vegetable competition, but also protect Wallace from the trigger-happy Quartermain. I really like how well written this movie's mystery is. It's so good at throwing us off with the red herring of Hutch, while simultaneously foreshadowing the truth about Wallace. This is a film that knows kids are watching, and trusts that they'll follow the clues as well as their parents. Gromit is also a fantastic lead hero, going from playing detective at the film's beginning, to doing his very best to protect his beloved Wallace from Quartermain. Even though he has zero dialogue in the movie, he comes off as the smartest and bravest character out of everyone. The movie is a terrific homage to monster horror cinema too. There's no blood or gore, but the whole movie is directed with the same chilling atmosphere and shocking tension as a Hammer horror classic. There's some witty imagination to comedically portraying vegetable violence like some kind of murder scene. This is also maybe the funniest Aardman movie ever made. No matter how many times I've watched this film, it still makes me belly laugh hard at its goofy sense of humour. Even the cheesy vegetable puns get a chuckle out of me. Much like the original Wallace and Gromit shorts, Curse of the Were-Rabbit combines charming British comedy with expert filmmaking that's on par with any live-action classic, all while staying true to the endearing spirit of this cheese-loving eccentric inventor and his dependable dog. Chicken Run. This film follows a flock of chickens who are trying to escape their farm, with the brave and fearless Ginger leading the way. Every escape attempt is a bust though. To make matters worse, time is running out, because their farmers, Mr. and Mrs. Tweedy, are building a chicken pie machine. Luckily though, a charismatic American rooster called Rocky clumsily flies into the farm, and agrees to teach these hens how to fly while his wing recovers. Unfortunately, it later turns out that Rocky was just a cannonball act. This movie does a brilliant job at raising its stakes. The tension is always high, because there's a constant threat of death. The chickens are either executed for not meeting egg quotas, or chosen as the next victim for the pie-making machine. This is what makes us so gripped and engaged in the chickens escaping. Thankfully, Ginger is the perfect leader for these sensitive chickens. She's full of so much perseverance and courage. You cannot knock her down. Even when a plan fails dramatically, it doesn't take her long to boil up another scheme.
We can't stop now. Come on, everyone. Go for it. Really go for it. Go, 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 go.
While I am shaky about Rocky, due to his wishy-washy commitment to the escape, and the fact that, well, he lies to the chickens, I do think that he has some strong chemistry with Ginger. There's some hostility at first, but once Ginger takes off a hard-boiled shell, the two of them end up bringing the best out of each other. Rocky teaches Ginger how to have fun, and Ginger inspires Rocky to care about these adorable, helpless hens. This is perhaps the most British Aardman movie out of them all too. Not only do most of the characters have thick Northern English accents,
Face the facts, ducks. The chances of us getting out of here are 1,000,000 to 1.
but the movie is also packed to the brim with British slang.
Blimey Nick! They've got Ginger!
Last of all, holy crap, our villain. She's one of the best cartoon baddies ever. This cruel and twisted woman who gets a sick glee out of slaughtering chickens. Even her dim-witted husband faces her wrath, with their relationship bordering on domestic abuse.
They're organised, I know it.
Said quiet.
That Ginger one, I reckon she's their leader.
Mr. Tweedy! And they finally have found a way to make us some real money around here, and what are you on about? Ridiculous notions of escaping chickens.
Chicken Run might be Aardman's darkest film to date, but it's this edge that heightens its anxiety-driven drama, and the studio's distinct dry humour luckily helps us through all the trauma. Arthur Christmas. In this movie's universe, Santa's present delivery service is done through futuristic technology, with the elves dropping off presents like they're secret agents, and old Malcolm being the figurehead Saint Nick, all while Malcolm's son Steve keeps things flowing from his command centre. However, the film mainly centres on Malcolm's younger son Arthur, a bumbling cinnamon roll who is in charge of replying to letters to Santa. Arthur finds out that one present wasn't delivered this year, a bike for a little Cornish girl called Gwen, but nobody wants to take just one child seriously. So Arthur teams up with his granddad, along with the gift-wrapping elf Bryony, and the three of them hop on the old magic sleigh to reach Cornwall before sunrise. It was tricky picking the best Aardman movie to me, but one rewatch of this movie reminded me that this really is their magnum opus. The film explores the existentialism of being Santa, and what that legacy means to each generation. Malcolm is grasping onto the Santa role in fear of losing his identity, and needs to accept that he's no longer in his prime. Steve craves a promotion to Santa, but he's actually bad with kids, sees all children as number data, and treats Christmas more like a business than a magical tradition, while Grand Santa is desperate to be Santa again out of rose-tinted nostalgia, but it's very obvious that his era has become outdated. At the end of the day, it's the humble Arthur who would make the perfect Santa, all because his heart lies in the magic of Christmas, and he genuinely cares about making every child feel equally special in December.
She won't understand. She'll think she's the one kid in the whole world that Santa doesn't care about.
I also quite like how the film debates the pros and cons of old magic versus modern technology. It sincerely celebrates the whimsy and charm of the sleigh, but also acknowledges that it's a relic of its time. Steve's technology might be more advanced, but it's sterile and cold compared to the sleigh. The adventure that our characters go on isn't a simple A to B trip from the North Pole to Cornwall, because the movie tries to come up with creative ways to thwart Arthur's mission, whether that means chucking our heroes into the lion's den, setting the military after the sleigh, or Arthur facing a crisis of faith after learning that his dad isn't the Santa he thought he was.
How can I ever write another letter saying that Santa cares?
When we finally arrive in Cornwall, it's such a rewarding climax, because we've seen our characters go through so many ups and downs, but they've overcome their woes to reach little Gwen just in time. Arthur Christmas might not have been made with the studio's trademark plasticine, but it certainly has Aardman's usual heart and soul. I think it's a delightful festive treat that shines bright like a Christmas tree star. Right, those are all my picks. Which is your favourite Aardman movie? Let everyone know in the comments below. I've been Jambareeqi, feel free to like and subscribe. Cheerio folks.